Welcome, I'm Colleen Hiscock, the owner and chef at Java Jacks in Rocky Harbor, Newfoundland and Labrador. Today, in today's how-to series, we are going to cook a turkey. Now, first things we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare the turkey, and then you'll see how quick and easy it is to make a super juicy turkey. So let's get started. My turkey is made with a lovely rub on the top, and then we let it sit for 2 days. And the juices, the top of it becomes almost like a little crust, and then we just toss her right into the oven. So we're gonna get started. I have right here 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm gonna use quite a bit of salt, and this is kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. And if you have just the regular table salt at home, I've used that before as well, not a problem, don't worry about it. I have 1 teaspoon of black pepper, so that's 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And I have here some ground sage. Clubhouse does a pretty good job, but you can get ground sage pretty much anywhere. If you have fresh sage at home, just grind it up or crush it. I need a teaspoon of this ground sage. Of course, you'll need a little bit more if it's not dried and it's fresh. So we're just going to mix that up. That is going to be the outside rub for our turkey. And what this does, it allows the juices from the outside of the turkey to weep. I'm just mixing this up very simply. It's got a lot of salt, creates this wonderful crust on the outside, and you'll see it'll brown up. Wow, it'll be an amazing brown on the outside of your turkey, and your turkey will be succulent and juicy. So that is the rub on the outside. So let's get, and we'll prepare the turkey now. Okay, so I have here one of these wonderful butter infused turkeys. Now, if you haven't tried one of these, they're actually quite awesome, and you don't have to do a lot of basting. It's pretty much foolproof in terms of making it a delicious turkey. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some flavors on the inside and this rub on the outside, and it's gonna be super duper. The difference between a regular turkey and regular turkey that you would have frozen in the grocery store and one of these buttered infused is that it already has some salt and some butter and some moisture infused and injected already into it. I know from experience, this is a wonderful turkey. Now, if you don't have one of these turkeys, then still a regular turkey in the same process will deliver you the most succulent turkey you've ever eaten. So what do you have? I've got a turkey here that's frozen. We have it partially thawed. It has a little give here to the turkey itself. You can see you can press your finger into it and it is going to give. So that's a partially thawed turkey, and I like to start there because I'm going to let it sit for a couple of days in the fridge at 4 degrees. So it'll still continue to thaw, but we'll start the cooking, or not the cooking process, the preparation process in advance. So we've removed the packaging, and what you have here now, I like to pull apart these legs a little bit. That allows me to expose the cavity. I want to see what's in the cavity. There's usually a neck. Also, in the neck area, in the top part of the cavity, typically you'll find a giblet pack. And here for sure it is. Okay, this one has a lovely, we'll open it up and I'll show you what's in here. I want you to make sure you don't eat the paper. The paper is edible, and if you do make a mistake and eat the paper, it is edible. I have heard of people actually doing that. You've got a lovely heart here. I love to season this up and cook it, and my husband loves this well seasoned as well, and this is the liver. So you can pack that all in there, keep that together. Absolutely delicious. So now you've got a space here. We're actually not going to worry too much about that. We are going to then turn this guy over. We're going to give it a little rinse with some cold water, not to rinse it up too much because this one has butter in it, and put it in like a baby in a bath. Voila, it's ready to go. Now, normally I'd stick this right into the roaster and put the rub on it and let it sit there. When it's done, after 2 days, I'll put it right into the oven. Today, I'm just gonna put it into this little pan and let it do its work here. If you noticed, I have There's an ability to use this little flap to tuck the legs in, but what I'm gonna do, instead of putting that bread dressing in here or that stuffing in here, I'm gonna add some flavors. It's gonna create that cavity of humidity, and it's gonna add a lot more flavor on the inside of the cavity and help to cook it. Don't put your stuffing in the cavity. Cook the stuffing off to the side so that it always reaches the right temperature of doneness and reaches the right temperature to make sure that all of the ingredients are fully cooked and you have no worry about getting sick afterwards. So what I have, we're going to put into the cavity is an onion. Just take the outside of the onion off. This is super fast, super easy. I'm just going to stuff the onion in here in quarters. I've got an apple, full apple, quarter apple, whatever. And we're going to stuff that in here. That'll add some more humidity, just like that. I have a little bit of rosemary that I'm going to add to the cavity as well. I think that's about a tablespoon. If you have fresh rosemary, it is so much better than the dry, though the dry will really season it up nicely. I'm going to use a little sage. And I'm going to put it in here. Same story, if you have fresh sage, so much better, but not awful. Okay, so we've got the cavity stuffed. We're just going to tuck the legs underneath here. I'm not going to worry about this too much more. When we go to cook it, I'm going to stuff that with a little bit of tin foil and then transfer it over to a pan, and we're going to put it right into the oven. Okay, so next is this rub. And you can see there's a lot of seasoning here for this lovely turkey. And this is all we're going to do, is we're going to give it a good rub with the seasoning, with the salt. So just pack it on here, and what will happen is that the moisture will wick. It essentially will create a different osmotic pressure on the outside of this, and the moisture will move from the skin outwards. You should have a little extra moisture in the bottom, and because we just left whatever moisture was here in the bottom, we're not going to worry too much about that. But this will give, the sugars will allow it to brown, the salt will give it a wonderful crust on the outside, and of course you've got the black pepper, and the sage is going to add that wonderful flavor to the crispiness here. And that's it. You put the whole thing on your turkey, no matter how big or how small. If you have a very large turkey, then make up some more and add to it. Now we are going to put actually some saran wrap on top of that and put it in the fridge, and that's it. Okay, so we have the rub on here, and all we need to do is we're going to put a little saran wrap on it, probably a couple of pieces, just to seal it, and so it doesn't dry out either. We don't really want to have it dried out. There we are. Now we're going to leave that and put it in the fridge at least one day and let that all marinate, and then we're going to put it directly into the oven. Now our turkey has been sitting for 2 days in the refrigerator. Everything now is fully thawed. You can tell that it is. And the outside still has a lot of the rub on here, so we didn't lose it through the thawing process where some of the moisture might have leaked out and then of course moved it along like a river. So all I'm going to do is take this out of this bin here and put it into my roaster. Now the roaster is an important thing, so I've actually made myself up a little bit of a stand in here. Sometimes the roasters don't come with those. There are now several roasters out there that do have a grid in the bottom. It's way easier to get the turkey off the bottom when you go to try and take it out. And that goes for any kind of chicken. These are sort of the old-fashioned style roasters, and you can get some that are a little more square, and you can throw the potatoes in and all that at the same time. We won't bother with that. We're just going to cook the turkey, and I have a large pan for that. This smaller pan that I have here, of course I have 2 of them, depends on the size of your turkey. If you have a bigger turkey, of course you'll need a bigger pan, and you want to give it enough space that the heat is going to be able to circulate all the way around it. You don't want the turkey jammed into it so that it's not going to have any space. It's going to not brown all the way around. We want to make sure that we've got circulation of air all going all the way around it. Ideally, you could actually have it a little shallower and you would have a beautiful browner turkey. Of course, you always think that it's going to dry out, but I'm going to show you how it doesn't. First of all, this little crust we have on the outside prevents that. I'm going to put the neck in here as well with the liver and the heart. These are wonderful. We can season them up, but they have a little seasoning already, just by mere fact they're in the same pan and they've been sitting in some of these juices. I'm not going to waste that. That's all good flavor, as my chef would say. That's flavor. don't lose that. We're going to add a little bit of help here for the inside of the turkey, just to create that warm, moist cavity. And we're going to then preheat the oven 400 degrees. Then once we put the turkey in there, we're going to turn the temperature down to 375 and let it cook for an hour with nothing on it. Naked bird, lovely. It's going to create that wonderful color on the outside. Now the secret to keeping the juices in is not only in creating that crust. So while we're waiting for the oven to preheat, we're going to make a little glaze to go over top of it. It'll add the flavor. The sugars in there will not only give us the sweetness on the outside that go together with the salty that we put on the rub, but it'll also create a beautiful brown color. So we need a half a cup of maple syrup. No problem, half a cup, put it in here. We're going to use a quarter of a cup of butter. I've already got it measured out here. We're going to warm this on the stove. I have a teaspoon of peppercorns. Put that in here, and I have a teaspoon of chili chipotle peppers. A teaspoon of that. And then to add some extra flavor, you'd be surprised at how often you can use the orange zest or lemon zest as really great flavoring for glazes or for sauces. It really does add. If you're making even a sauce at home that would be a red wine sauce, add a little bit of orange to it. It really does mellow out those flavors. Orange zest, outstanding. And I'm going to put a lot in here because I want this flavor to add wonderful to it. Okay, so all of this we're going to just warm it up, and then about an hour into the cook, we're going to start to use the glaze. So all we're going to do is just melt that butter and warm this up and bring it to a boil so all those flavors marry together. And then after an hour of cook, we're going to glaze it, brush it on. Our oven is preheated to 400 degrees, so I'm just going to put the turkey in the oven. Just like that. Put it in midway, so you've got equal distribution of heat. And then I'm going to close it up, and I'm going to turn it down to 375. And then we're going to let that cook for 1 hour, and we'll come back and check on it then. Okay, so we've cooked the turkey now for an hour. Oops. Have a little look at how it's bubbling nicely underneath the skin, so we've created that little crust. Now we're going to keep that crust nice and moist, and we're going to add a little bit of this glaze. I'm just going to brush it on the outside, just a little bit all over. I wouldn't even say a little bit. I'm pretty generous with it. And look, you can already tell that this is going to make wonderful, beautiful color. The flavor is going to be outstanding. Smell the orange zest that's in here. So we'll pick one side and then do the other. Just like that. We're going to do this intermittently now, every 20 minutes until it's done. We're going to just take it off, take the cover off, and brush it with this wonderful glaze that we made. Cover on. We're going to turn it down to 350, and every 20 minutes we're going to brush some glaze on there. Okay, so we're going to glaze it. We've already glazed it once over the course of the cooking, so another 20 minutes. We'll take another look at it here. I know that it will be brown and golden brown looking. Let's have a little look. Oh, wow, it looks great. So I'm going to give it one more brushing. I do believe we're getting close to the internal temperature we need. In some cases I can tell by just the looking at it. I've made a few turkeys, and we just glaze this over on this side. Be generous, I have lots of glaze. Right? And then turn it around so that we can do the other side. Because we have the sugars in here, what's happening is the skin on the turkey, if you don't know, actually has protein in it. And it will combine with the sugars and create this browning effect. It's called a Maillard reaction. Actually well studied and well documented. Gives you these golden hues and colors. And that's really what a roll of sugar. It's the same thing as if you were having toast. Okay, we'll put it back in for another 20 minutes and then we'll check the temperature. Okay, I think we're ready. We'll check and be sure. I'm gonna take the cover off. This is beautiful golden brown color. It doesn't get more delicious looking than that. we're going to check. So in the thigh, we want to be 175 degrees. In the breast, 160 degrees, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 70 degrees Celsius, or 80 degrees Celsius in the thigh. So we are well beyond that, so we are good here. We're going to check the breast meat now. And yes, we're probably well overcooked. So we could have probably, oh no, it's coming down. So we probably could have taken her out for a little while, but we're sure that it's going to be done. And that's really about 2 hours for this lovely little bird. And she looks gorgeous. I'm just going to take it over here. Now we're just going to let it equilibrate. So the temperature on the outside and the inside are very far apart. We've got room temperature here. We've got a lovely hot turkey. So we're just going to let that equilibrate in terms of getting used to the ambient temperatures. Most people call it resting. I like to think of it equilibrating, and those temperatures on the inside will have a chance to settle and they won't escape to the air as quickly. So I'm just going to put a little foil on here to tent it. We don't want to make that crust soggy. We want to make sure that it still has lots of heat in there, but we don't want it to be soggy. So a little tenting, a little venting, and it'll stay juicy, it'll stay crispy on the outside, and we'll wait for about 20 minutes for that. So we're just going to strain the juice, the juice here, and I want to make sure that I have the drippings separate so that I know what the fat layer is and I know what the other layer is. And you can see that I've got a little bit of this protein exudate is actually what it's called. I don't know what other people call it, but the technical term is protein exudate, with a little bit of peppercorns. We don't want to eat those. And so we have ourselves a lovely amount of drippings, which the bottom part will be used for our gravy. The top part is the fat, and we want to use that sparingly to make our gravy as well. It's wonderful, full of flavor, and look at our turkey. Doesn't she or he look wonderful? She's ready to carve. And this is a wonderful way to make your Thanksgiving dinner, and it certainly does make it easy. It's delicious, and I hope that you'll give it a try. Till next time, I'm Colleen Hiscock. Bon appetit.